Welcome to another Spot On Chat. I'm Rebecca Monet with Zorakle Profiles. Zorakle provides profiling tools for franchisors and franchise consultants that helps facilitate a right fit between a prospective franchisee and a franchise concept. With me today on the Spot On Chat is my friend Mary Ann O'Connell. Mary Ann is a franchise consultant and a manual writer with FranWise. She has a whole bunch of other things she's involved in, of course. She's the host of the Franchise Business Network of Orange County, California. She's also the immediate past chairwoman of the Supplier Forum Advisory Board. She's also the immediate past chairman of the Franchise Membership IFA Membership Committee. She also won the Crystal Award from the IFA a few years ago. And she's also the past chairman of the Women's Franchise Committee. And she also sat on the IFA Board of Directors. Notice I had to take a whole bunch of notes, everybody, to keep track of everything. So Mary Ann and her company, FranWise, offer franchisor strategic planning, feasibility studies, manuals, training, and franchise system optimization. So bottom line, FranWise and Mary Ann provide bright ideas for franchising success. Welcome, Mary Ann.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. You are incredibly fascinating to me because you're involved in so many things and you have the heart of a giver. You really do want to make a difference, not just in franchising, but in your own community. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you some questions about various volunteer activities you've been involved in. And I know there's several of them, Habitat for Humanity, and then Adopt a Family is another one that you're involved in. Can you share with me a little bit more about those programs and what you learned from them and what you're enjoying by being a part of them?
Of course. Now, I think everyone knows Habitat for Humanity. You all think Jimmy Carter started it, but he didn't. He is just the best volunteer we've ever had. And it's set up like a franchise. A lot of people don't realize that. They're all individual chapters that run independently with some guidelines. And I think a lot of people say, I'd love to do that once. Mm-hmm. And that's what was in my head. And they were doing what was called a women's build. And it was the first time that a house was going to be built by women. So I went and signed up and got trained on it. Totally forgot everything they taught me. And then they never called. So I just got frustrated and walked on and then stayed on that site for 9 years. Almost every Saturday, I was at a Habitat site doing my best not to make houses fall down. I'm not a particularly skilled builder, but what it helped me build was management skills because I was raised to be a what they call a crew leader, which was managing a specific crew of volunteers on a specific task. Mm-hmm. So as long as you didn't give me siding, because it would look like this when we were done, I was pretty good. And I loved it. I think I built about 20 houses or helped build 20 houses. So it was great, but the skills they needed were far outpacing mine. And it was getting to be one of those volunteer things that was a full-time job. You needed to study and understand. And I said, no, I'm done. But meanwhile, one of the best parts of volunteering, no matter what it is that gets your engines revving, the best part of volunteering are the people you meet because they're like-minded. There is something that brought you all there. And I don't mean the crews that would show up for 1 week because it was a team building exercise for their company, but the crew leaders and the volunteers who came back every week, and we were tight. In fact, there's a group of us that it's been 19 years and we're still really tight friends. Wow. And one of those, so it's September 11th, 2001, and we're grounded. And I had a friend, Sue Epstein, who was a library technician consultant. And she got me involved. We started talking. We got to know each other. She asked me if I would come over and help with this thing called Adopt a Family. Mm-hmm. So we have another charity in our city that is called Share Ourselves. It was started by 2 women who were making peanut butter sandwiches for the underprivileged people in their parish. in the church that's across the street from me. So I did go over that first day, and I was just lifting soggy wet boxes that people had been dropping off as Christmas presents and food donations, and I got hooked. I mean, it was just so much fun, and my family aren't big Christmas people, so I had Christmas on these days, and it was way more rewarding. So I have been doing that every Christmas. I shut down for a week. So Share Ourselves is, I'll do a shameless plug for them. They have grown from peanut butter sandwiches to now they're a federally recognized charity in that they do a full service medical clinic, dental clinic. They do financial assistance. They have a food pantry. They have a clothing pantry. They do tutoring. They're open 365 days a year, but I get involved when it comes to Christmas. And we are trying to figure out how with this pandemic, we're still going to be able to do it. Because what we do is provide Christmas for about 1,300 of the neediest families in Santa Ana and Costa Mesa, and that's about 6,000 kids.
Wow.
Would not and we don't choose the families. The agencies and the schools that we partner with, they identify the neediest families. They know they're being adopted, and they get asked, the kids get asked what they want, and they're so humble. I mean, they'll just make you cry when you're reading what's been input. You know, they're not asking for themselves. They want something for their mom or their dad or grandma, or a toy that maybe was popular but 3 years ago. They're very humble in what they want. And what I find is it makes the family that adopts them get over generous, because they're so used to people, gimme, gimme, gimme. And when somebody doesn't want it, so we go in for it takes months of planning and setting it up. But on our last week, we roll into the Orange County Fairgrounds. We take over 2 hangars. They're empty when we walk in.
Wow.
They're filled with presents when we leave, and they're all allotted by family into what agency or school is going to get them, and then shipped out in a 4-day week. And even though we're doing most of this manually still, we are able to manage that within less than a 1% error rate.
Wowza.
So we have fun. We try every year to beat our personal best. There's a bunch of us that have been at this. My friend Sue has been volunteering for 40 years. So there's a bunch of us from Habitat that are over there now. And we take this super seriously, because if we screw up or one of our volunteers screw up, some kid doesn't get Christmas. And
Not good.
not on my watch.
So Santa has a warehouse in a hangar in Costa Mesa.
Yeah, I guess so. Our Santa is actually companies and individuals from all over Orange County. I mean, like the Ducks, the hockey team, every year they adopt about 50 families. There's one church in Newport. They adopt a full third of our families every year.
Wow.
There is, I don't know that I have permission to say who she is, but there is a top fashion brand that started in Costa Mesa. She used to be an adopt-a family kid. So it's amazing when
that
you
gives me
see,
chills.
well, it's very much attached to what happens with Habitat. When children have a sense of security, all the at-risk behaviors drop dramatically. So if we can, through Habitat, we get them a home and they're not afraid of losing it the next day. And then some other people can come in and make sure they have a warm, nourishing meal. They have at least 2 gifts. That's all we ask for the kids, at least 2 gifts. But I've seen people roll in bunk beds, dining room sets, refrigerators, because you hear these stories of people who are working their hearts out and they can't make it. They just can't make ends meet. And there's a lot of wealth in Orange County. And it, even
in California.
But even in the height of the recession in 08 and 09, the generosity was up. It was, I cry a lot that week. Every time something great comes in the door, I just get all weepy and then go yell at somebody, and it makes me feel better.
I love this story. I don't know if you know anything about my history, but we were very poor, very, very poor. My parents were missionaries, and in the 50s and 60s, they weren't funded like they are today. And I can't imagine having a Christmas like that. We didn't have, those kinds of things. So to have that available to children, and I think your point is so well made. It's the old Maslow theory, right? If we have security and safety, then we can evolve to the next level and get to more important things. But without safety and security, we can't become self-actualized, or even we're always in a fight or flight mode. So providing this for these families through the habitat or through something as simple as gifting at Christmas it must be incredibly rewarding emotionally
Here's one
for
story
you.
that ties most of it together. I was also a big sister for a number of years. And I remember picking up Lucy one day, and there was this box that just said SOS on it. And it was filled with food and stuff. It was Christmas time. And on the way out, I said, "What's that?" She goes, "Oh, the church ladies did something. She doesn't need to know what the machinations are." And it was years later that I started to volunteer at Adopt a Family, and I saw the boxes. And I went, she
Oh,
was one of our families. So again, families in need and getting help from, if you're ever thinking that the end is nigh, that things are bad, the economy may crash, you've got more than most people.
oh
And
yeah.
there's nothing like this kind of volunteering to get you to be grateful on a grand scale, because you realize when I'm done, I'm going back to the house I own. And I used to take that for granted, and I take none of it for granted anymore.
Beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that, Marianne. And I hope this inspires our listeners to consider doing the same. There's great emotional reward and satisfaction for yourself. And of course, it makes a difference in the lives of others. So I'm going to have you back on another Spot On chat. So thank you, Marianne.
My pleasure. And if I could just say one last thing, whatever you're going to volunteer it for, find something that touches your heart, and then it becomes just fun, not volunteering.
Good point. Good point. Otherwise, it just feels heavy. So yeah, it has to be fun.